Grant Williams, you will pay for your crimes. CJ McCollum, you will pay for your crimes. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Wim Lu. You're listening to the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. Make sure you find Hello and Welcome wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, review our show. Channel update on YouTube. We're rounding the corner on 5K. I believe we're scheduled to hit that probably Sunday night or Monday. So congratulations to everyone. Thank you for supporting. Please keep just helping the growth of the channel by continuing to watch, comment, like, share the video. We are also on social. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Hello Welcome Pod. I'm joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. This has been the most boring hour one of NBA free agency of all time. Grant Williams, you will pay for your crimes. CJ McCollum, you will not see. Well, I don't even know what CJ McCollum will not see, but he's also paying for his crimes, I suppose. Yeah, man, this is super boring after 1 hour, and I can't lie to you.
Yeah, man, as if Grant Williams couldn't be more annoying. Now he's annoying just like the content creators. You know, we had circled the 6 p.m. on our calendar for Sunday because like that's when all the official activity starts coming in. You'd expect, you know, Paul George to be, you know, in a Sixers Photoshop right now on Woj's timeline. You know, you'd expect Shams to be reporting on Klay Thompson, you know, signing with the Lakers or something. But instead, you know, I got Max Christie coming back to the Lakers, 4 years, 32 mil on one hand.
Come on, man.
And I got reports that Nick Batum will not be returning to the Sixers on the other hand. So this is all I got for you right now.
What about hold on. What about the Celtics, the reigning champions?
What about the Celtics, man?
Retaining their two backup centers and they didn't play.
Oh,
Luke Cornett, who played a little bit,
yeah,
and Nemias Queta, who is also apparently returning to Boston. You always say this about him, man. The Portuguese backup center that they have.
Did he allow
who
an
played a
own
lot
goal
in
the Euros today, or what's going on?
Oh man, tough day for the own goals, man. They got upstaged by Jude Bellingham with just an incredible
bicycle kick, man.
Yeah.
That's Ronald Lue in his prime.
I don't know about that, man. I think he would have broke his back if he ever did that at any point in his life.
It's coming home, guys. It's coming home.
Okay, if that's not exciting, what about Andre Drummond signing a 2-year deal with the Philadelphia 76ers?
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Real?
Oh, you didn't even see that?
Oh, wow. Okay, let me actually turn on my phone here. Yeah, so I believe the Sixers have finally solved their backup center problems. They no longer will lose the 4 Joel Embiid non-playoff minutes by 16 points now. So that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, this is remember when Drummond and Joel Embiid had beef? This was like 2018 level beef.
Who has Joel Embiid not beefed with from the center position? Like, can you actually on the contrary name me 5 centers that he has not beefed with?
That's a good question, honestly.
I mean, he beefed with Cat too. Like that was a very prominent one, right?
Yeah.
He's stepped on a lot of guys. Like, didn't he step on some guy from the Knicks in the first round?
He pulled Mitchell Robinson to the ground.
See, there we go. There's another one. So
yeah, he like did something to OG recently. He stepped on our boy Grant Williams' head.
This free agency is tough, man.
Why are we recording right now? No, seriously, what are we doing, man?
Anyways.
Breaking news, Kevin Porter Jr. has agreed to a 2-year deal with the Clippers.
Anyways, listen, let's talk about the main character of free agency.
This ain't right, man. He's a bad person. He shouldn't be around.
Main character of free agency is Paul George. So yesterday, he officially declined his $48 million player option to become an unrestricted free agent. And it was reported by Tim Kawakami that, you know, the Warriors and the Clippers were negotiating over the weekend on a potential sign and trade, and the Warriors were committed to giving PG a 4-year max extension because this is really the contention between Paul George and the Clippers. The Clippers are only willing to go to 3 years right now. And some combination, not all of these players, but some combination of Andrew Wiggins, CP3, who has since been waived, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and draft picks were among the players and picks that were discussed in a trade, and ultimately it just didn't happen. And now that PG is unrestricted, you know, the Warriors are moving on. They're not going to be able to get him. So before we talk about where George might end up, what did you think of Paul George potentially going to the Warriors? What that would have looked like?
I mean, I think that would have been more fun just because, like, you get to see the Warriors be relevant. You get to see the Warriors have like a number 2 scorer behind Steph. I don't think that would have been enough to like push the Warriors into like an older, like into like the upper, tier. You know what I mean? Like the top 4 in the West is still intact. I think obviously Dallas, OKC, Minnesota, Denver, those teams aren't sweating if Paul George goes to the Warriors, simply because like some of these guys are just so old. Like, man, like Klay, like just make up your mind. Fine, you take the mid-level somewhere. Like, get it. Like, that's not gonna change anything for any team that you go to at this point. Like, sorry, like their primes are over. Same thing with Paul George. Like, yeah, he's still a really productive player. There's certain moments where, of course, like he can really be on. There are obviously lots of moments of inconsistency, but like, stop holding up all of NBA free agency for podcast content. Like, it's killing me, man. Like,
it's actually killing this podcast right now.
No, seriously, man. What's going on, man? Because I actually do think that, like, yes, it seems like the Clippers are willing to offer him 3 years, not 4. And so he's like, all right, well, I'll go other places and see if I get 4. It does feel like, though, that, like, I don't know. A part of me still feels like Paul George is just going to stay after all this. Okay, breaking news. Paul George is indeed leaving the Clippers, and we will see where he's going to end up. Looks like most likely going to be Philadelphia. We interrupt our previous conversation to deliver the news. Alex, what is the official statement from the Clippers?
The official statement from the Clippers, they said that Paul has informed us, wow, first name, Paul has informed us that he is signing his next contract with another team, called him a tremendous talent, elite two-way player, and that they were fortunate for the 5 years that they spent with him. They also said, we traded a lot to pair Paul and Kawhi, and in exchange, we had 5 seasons of contention. Even though we fell short of our ultimate objective, we appreciate the chances that we had with Paul, and a lot of other platitudes as well.
Okay,
it's so like 6 paragraphs.
It is quite a bit, honestly. No, first off, like those 5 years, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess you got to put on a brave face, but those were not 5 good years. Like, let's be honest.
I believe the stat that Raptors fans are hanging on to is that Kawhi won more playoff series in his 1 season with the Raptors than Paul George and Kawhi Leonard did together in 5 seasons.
How about this? I'm pretty sure Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan won more playoff series together than Paul George and Kawhi did.
I mean, you could go down the list of duels at this point if you're trying to go that way. But listen,
pretty sure Norman Powell and Jonas Valanciunas won more playoff series.
I mean, we don't have time for this right now, but I'd love to, cast who's going to play Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in clip 2 on FX when they eventually get into this 5-year era. But we all remember it started with Kawhi and Paul George teaming up, and the Battle of LA was being hyped up. And then a global pandemic happened, and the Clippers blew a 3-1 lead in the bubble to the Denver Nuggets. And so that conference finals never happened. And then a bunch of injuries happened as well. The one time that they did make the conference finals was without Kawhi, because by the time they defeated the Jazz, he was out in that second round. And then the Clippers never had a full squad going up against the Phoenix Suns. And even this year, it looked like after acquiring James Harden, they were looking like one of the contenders in the West, and then just fell apart in the second half. Again, Kawhi went into the playoffs with injury issues, and they got bounced in the first round. So, this 5 years, you got to look back as just pure disappointment for the Clippers.
Hey, you forgot one notable detail in this 5-year Clipper run. There's also the infamous video of I believe Patrick Beverley and Lou Williams in Vegas saying, yo, the next 5 years are mine. The next 5 years, I mean...
So I don't even know who the next 5 years belong to now.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of parity in the league. So the next 5 years belong to Adam Silver.
Let's go 5 months at a time.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But it's just so funny because this whole thing started with like Kawhi like desperately trying to find a co-star to join him in LA so that, he can have a competitive team there. I think Paul George was like far down the list. I believe like he tried for KD, then tried for like Kyrie at one point. Ultimately gets Paul George. And now this time around, I mean, like Kawhi's literally chilling in Costa Rica, drinking out of a coconut. Meanwhile, Paul George is like, I'm leaving. And he's like, okay, like, cool.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
That's how the 5 years went.
Yeah, they're moving into the Intuit Dome. As many people have pointed out, I guess Paul George wasn't very into it So that's I think that's it on the Clippers, unless you have anything to add to get us back to our regular scheduled podcast.
No, I'm just really excited for the downfall of the Clippers. Once again, it should be known for the record that Kawhi Leonard left and broke up a healthy, happy home to go to the Clippers with Paul George, got nothing out of it. Now he's stuck with James Harden on a 2-year max contract, it looks like. And I'm just enjoying this, man. I'm just enjoying this.
Bang!
Yeah, it's game 80. It's game 46 of the season when that happens. When it comes to the playoffs, it won't be happening.
Hey, at least PJ Tucker opted in for $11 million budget for his sneakers.
Oh, yeah. They're trading him as well. They're trading Westbrook. I mean, yeah, it's just a terrible situation. The funniest thing, too, is the Clippers also being like, screw the Warriors. Okay, we'd rather take nothing for Paul George than get anything back and also help Paul George go to the Warriors, which he also wanted to do. So, yeah, that's about it. We'll bring you back to the most exciting day one of NBA free agency. And, thanks for listening to Hello and Welcome Pod. What, the Sixers with Paul George, is that moving you? Is that beating the Celtics for you?
I mean, beating the Celtics, I think, is a different conversation. But I feel like you're underselling PG a little bit. Like, I know he's getting up there in age, but like to add him to like a big three in Philly, I think that's a huge move.
Well, I mean, I think it would be a huge move for them, but like, does it change again? Like, is Boston sweating the fact that Paul George is now joining them to be their third option, potentially? By the way, potentially.
Yeah, well, I think the question for the Sixers, if you're talking about contention, like, it still will just always go back to Joel Embiid's health. Yeah, like, if you're telling me that Joel Embiid is healthy, and we haven't seen that for a single playoff run, and it's to the point where I kind of feel bad for him, is that like, if he's healthy and you have a fully healthy squad, then yeah, like we saw them like 2 years ago with James Harden, almost take the Celtics out until they kind of fell apart in Game 6, and then
that's a different Celtics team, though.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That's a very different Celtics team.
That's true, and it's like I think the funniest thing for me with the Sixers is like they've been in the spotlight because of the process and because they have such a rabid fan base. They've just gone through so many iterations of teams now.
Yeah.
Like they had the Ben Simmons era that overlapped with the Markelle Fultz era. They had the Jimmy Butler era. Somehow Al Horford went there and stole $109 million before just going back, and then went to OKC to like take a year off, and then went back to Boston and is now a champion. And now we're potentially looking at the Paul George era. It is interesting because there is reports that they are trying to, because I believe they have the most cap space out of any teams here in free agency. And it looks like Denver is cheaping out on keeping their championship core and letting Kentavious Caldwell-Pope go. There are reports too that Daryl Morey is doing his mathematical Ernst & Young gymnastics to try to see if they can get both Paul George and KCP. In the event that they get both, does that move you at all?
I mean, both, I think, obviously, is totally different, right? Because all of a sudden now,
KCP changes everything.
No, because like, who is like the fifth starter right now that's like super impactful? First of all, I do think that where's Philadelphia coming up with the money to do all this, right? Because Embiid's on the supermax, Tyrese Maxey's about to get cashed in. The whole reason they have all this cap room anyway is because they waited for him to hit restricted free agency, and then they're going to do all these signings and then sign him. So he's going to be really expensive. Paul George's going to be on a max. And then it's not going to be just nothing to pry KCP. That's probably going to be like another $20 million. Or like, I mean, that's what I was looking at that Bobby Webster projected, or Bobby Marks projected board, which by the way did have our boy Gary Trent at 12. That's tough, man. Yeah, man. That was a tough one. But still, like, where are they going to have money for all this? You know what I mean? Like, I guess the rest of the team can just be minimums. I guess not even, because Drummond just signed for 5 years as well, or $5 million over 2.
Well, they've got like around 60 in cap space, I think. Yeah. And they can probably just, no, you're right. The rest of the roster,
you can sign them like with cap space, but I feel like this team like is going to have like 3 max players immediately.
They about to hit the apron. Once again, Grant Williams, man, what did you negotiate?
This is the other part that's really annoying. It's like, okay, so the Knicks make that trade and they get Mikal Bridges, which we talked about already. But like now they're like, well, we might have hard capped ourselves because we took an extra $1 million back because Bogdanovic's contract is like $1 million less than like Bridges' contract. So then like they're like, wait, we don't want to hard cap ourselves, so let's try to sneak in another player. But like, you know, they're trying to figure out how to do that, right? other teams are like, we got to duck this set, first apron or whatever, like the Kings, for example. So then they end up dumping Davion Mitchell to Toronto. That all worked out for us, right? Because we're able to take on extra players and get rid of McDaniels. But like all these teams out there are just trying to adapt to the new cap situation.
I mean, even the Paul George thing is part of it too, right? Like the Clippers don't want to get locked in to 4 years, and they also they re-signed James Harden to 2 years, $70 million, and Harden's got a player option for that second year. I believe this is like the 8th straight year Harden's going to be like on a 1-year deal. I swear. Yeah,
he's become the new LeBron. Remember, like LeBron in Cleveland level. Like,
yeah, but you look at the two guys that we're talking about right now, and I think it's like different scenarios. But with Paul George, the Clippers clearly are aware of like the new financial landscape, and then with the Warriors too. Like these are the two teams with like some of the highest salaries, right? And they're staring up against the apron and stuff like that. But no, I think Paul George going to Philly would definitely kind of move the needle a little bit. But I do agree with you. Like you got to still fill out the rest of the team.
Are they better than the Knicks as the second best team in the East if they get Paul George?
I think there's a conversation, man. I mean,
okay.
I think it's just your perception of Embiid. Because I feel like here's a problem with like looking at the Sixers. It's like
the Sixers are always less than the sum of their parts. I'm sorry, I've seen it for like 6 years in a row now.
Yeah, but this is a problem. It's like during the regular season when Embiid is healthy, you feel really good about them.
Sure.
And then at the end of every season, after they flamed out of the playoffs, you feel terrible about them. And I feel like we're just in that period right now because we've seen them once again not have a healthy Embiid, bow out in the first round, that you don't feel good about it. But it's like, again, on paper, going into next season, you'd have to give them a shot like up there with the Knicks of like vying for that number 2 spot of going up against the Celtics.
No, that's fair. I mean, I think especially if they're able to land both Paul George and KCP, all of a sudden, like I feel totally different about them. Don't discount KCP, man. Come on, bro. He's
I'm just saying, I didn't know the East ran through KCP.
Yeah, it does. Okay, the chip runs through KCP. I think he's the only player in the 2020s that has 2 chips or something like that. I don't know.
Here we go. Please,
sorry. I've been hopelessly scrolling my timeline, hoping for anything other than Andre Drummond news.
Please, man. Shout out to guy Omar Yurtseven getting waived by the Jazz.
Oh man, ooh man,
getting waived.
Man, I can't believe the Spurs didn't tender a qualifying offer to Dominic Barlow. Like, come on, man, what's going on?
New at 7, Omar Yurtseven, man. Now for the Clippers, let's assume they lose PG. I don't know how. I don't know how in the short term they recover from this.
I mean, there's always the discussions because last time DeMar was a free agent, like they were close to signing him, but then of course the Bulls came in and offered a bunch of money, and ultimately I think for DeMar it was a better choice to take the money with Chicago. But like if he wants to go home, the Clippers are obviously an option potentially that can take on more money. Like that's the thing. The Clippers are probably the only team. Maybe them and the Suns are like, okay, we're actually not worried about the second apron. But like even seeing teams like Denver break it down just because like, oh yeah, it's not because KCP doesn't want to stay. It's not because Bruce Brown doesn't want to stay. It's just because like we don't have the financial means to keep our championship team together. Like that sucks. You know what I mean? Like that just genuinely like sucks to look at. Now, of course, like some of that it's on Denver to be like, well, listen, we're going to pay the amount of money that it takes to compete for championships while we have the best player on the planet. But still, like the fact is that like teams are just breaking down their teams because of the new CBA is super whack, especially when like they're also going to make a whole ton of new money with the new TV deals and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you look at the Clippers. The funniest thing is Kawhi is just on vacation in Costa Rica.
Happy 33rd
He's not doing
birthday.
any like recruiting, nothing.
He's literally on just like a street corner. Drinking some like coconut juice.
This guy's like having a mango that he bought for $1 Like, come on, man, what's happening?
I love how as much
Kawhi
as
don't care. He got his money.
As much as Joel Embiid gets all the crap about like not showing up in the playoffs and being injured. Like this is the same narrative as Kawhi like the last 4 years now. But I guess Kawhi gets to skate on it because that's a 2-time champion.
KCP. KCP 3 years, $66 million in Orlando.
No way! Is this live breaking news?
Yes, sir.
Oh my god! All right.
This is why you record at 7 p.m. so you can hear Alex his nose, and you can hear KCP at 3 years, $66 million.
Man. Look out, Cleveland in the first round next year. Orlando got a shooter. If it goes 7 next year in the first round, I'm going with Orlando. That's the thing, man. I'd be so upset if I was a Denver fan.
That's what I'm saying. Why are we losing KCP over this?
You won a championship 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You had this crazy series against Minnesota, whatever. Like,
I mean, they got no one but themselves to blame. Like, they really choked so hard.
Yeah, but full points to Minnesota, right? Like, they were incredible for a lot of that series. But it's like, you have, like, it's so hard to build a starting 5 that's, like, dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And to not pay that money, especially to one of the role players. Like, it's, that would just frustrate me so much, man. Especially because, like, you work so hard just to open up these championship windows.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Christian Brown just steps in and is elite, but I don't think that's happening.
Well, I mean, you also got to, like, be realistic. Like, okay, if you really want to contend and you're serious about contending, then you would just pay the money to contend, right?
Yeah.
Like,
you deal with all the other stuff later.
Look at the Celtics. Like, KCP to the Celtics or KCP to the Nuggets is kind of like, weirdly enough, Drew Holiday to the Celtics, right? Like, in terms of just, like, 4th or 5th option guy in the starting lineup, really good on defense, everything like that. Championship pedigree. Now, of course, I would rather have Drew Holiday than KCP, but the Celtics have Drew Holiday and they're like, you know what? We're going to extend you. Like, they're paying him like over $30 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's older than KCP. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Orlando, I guess. I don't know, man.
No, that doesn't move me at all. Like, I would have been more excited seeing KCP go to a team that's like more ready to contend. Well, there was also talks too, because Westbrook opted into his $4 million option. But the Clippers are shopping him, and Denver was mentioned as one of the places. I'm guessing people in Denver aren't going to be that excited if it's KCP on the way out and Westbrook coming in.
I thought Westbrook would just come in and just take that Reggie Jackson slot of like backup point guard.
I forgot they also dumped Reggie Jackson's salary.
Like cutter, like whatever, kind of run your backup point guard just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just saying, man. Once you break up a starting 5 like that, it's hard. Once you lose a piece like that. Like
also, didn't Westbrook take a discount to re-sign with the Clippers, and now he's just gonna get, I guess, dumped to Denver is not a terrible thing. Like, guess what? You get to play for a team better than the Clippers, honestly, especially now that Paul George is gone. But like, yeah, I don't know. Man, NBA free agency, bro. It's been tough so far. What else you got for me,
man.
bro?
We're gonna talk Bronny second segment just for the algorithm.
No, man. No,
I'm ready.
Leave Bronny alone.
No, I have a Bronny topic for you. So,
oh my god.
I guess the second main character in free agency is Klay Thompson, and all accounts is that his after 13 years with Golden State, they are finally breaking up. And it was reported by Woj at the start of free agency that Klay is having meetings with Dallas, the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Sixers. So, yeah, Klay Thompson era in Golden State is over. Thoughts?
Yeah. This is kind of sad. It really is.
Might got to bring Andy Liu on this week, actually.
He's busy enough, man. This man got...
What?
This man engaged. He a father to be. Like, I don't know if like Klay Thompson at 34 is like his number one option anymore. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it sucks, man. We already talked about this before, but wherever he ends up going that isn't Golden State is gonna be like the new like Patrick Ewing in an Orlando Magic jersey.
Yeah,
I guess that's now KCP in Orlando Magic jersey, but like. No, seriously, like it feels like it's just pride at the end of the day. Like, I guess they didn't really show him enough respect, quote unquote, by like just taking care of him.
Yeah, reports where he was being offered sub $20 million a year.
Sure, okay, which is quite low, and it seems like they probably want to save some money and all that kind of stuff. And based on his production, like it's not that crazy. Like he's not that productive anymore. I think defensively, he was obviously at a way higher level. Offensively, he can be quite erratic. Mm-hmm. He started coming off the bench this year as well. The Warriors sort of demoted him to the bench. Like, I get it. Like, you can kind of see the split coming for a while. I always get with the sense with Klay, especially with his shot selection, it's just like, he kind of still, like, half the time it feels like Klay Thompson's trying to be, like, chase what it meant to be Klay Thompson.
Yeah, I mean, you see the performances. Like, his last game with the Warriors was 0 for 10 in the play-in game.
Right.
Against the Kings. And, like, throughout the season, you watch the Warriors, you would see, like, sometimes... Like you mentioned, on specific possessions, you would see him trying to be the old Klay again. Mm-hmm. And it's just not there, right? Yeah, I do wonder.
It's a little bit sad to just watch it happen. Like he's chasing clearly a ghost of himself, which honestly, like, was at his very peak in 2019 in Game 6. He was having the game, not of his life, because obviously that was the OKC game where he hit 11 threes in Game 6 of that one. but like he was having an incredible game, and then he got injured, and then he came back, and on the cusp of returning, he gets injured again for another year. And he comes back after that, wasn't fully in shape, which of course after 2 years you could fully understand that. Wins a championship, and yeah, I mean, I think for the Warriors, like they took care of the other guys, like they took care of Draymond, they took care of Steph, obviously. But yeah, I think with Klay, I think he was probably expecting the same treatment, and quite frankly, he was always kind of the third wheel if you're gonna rank between the three of them in terms of importance. But yeah, it sucks, man.
Yeah, I mean, people always talk about the Game 6 in the finals against the Raptors. I mean, I think about the Game 5 too, like when Nick Nurse called that timeout.
Oh yeah,
and the Raptors were up, and then Steph and Klay just brought them all the way.
3 straight
back.
threes. Yeah,
yeah, that was such a scary sequence as well. Out of those teams that I mentioned, which team would you like to see Klay on? Dallas, Clippers, Lakers, Sixers.
For me, Dallas. I think Dallas is the only team in that group that is like contending. Quite frankly, so I think that Dallas is fit. Like, yeah, their fifth options and their fourth options just aren't moving me. Like the amount of like Josh Green you started seeing, Maxi Kleber in the finals, like
Mr. Wisey around.
Yo, seriously, he's the original Wisey around. But like, yeah, like just even Derrick Jones Jr., who obviously did a lot of great stuff defensively to get the Dallas Mavericks to the finals. So I can't say that he didn't contribute. Of course he contributed, but offensively, like he was just getting left alone. At minimum, Klay is still going to be a very respected shooter. So I would love to see sort of that combination alongside of, Kyrie and Luka, because all they do is just draw in defenses and then kick out to wide open threes. And I still believe that like if you're going to look for the best version of Klay Thompson, you're going to need that. Now I think you could probably achieve that to some degree with the Lakers as well. And I know Klay's obviously his dad played for the Lakers, legendary Laker and all that kind of stuff. It's probably a sentimental reason to be there. Maybe even as well as like, I don't know, how much does he seems to love boating, for example. I guess you could do that easier in LA, but like, no, it's still low. I think his biggest impact, at least in terms of relevance towards contention, would be with Dallas. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Dallas is a good fit. I somehow feel like he's going to end up on the Lakers. I just feel like Lakers are a team of storylines. You've got JJ Redick as the head coach. You've got, Bronny. Once again, we have to mention Bronny every 20 minutes
Why,
on every
man?
YouTube video. This is my
conspiracy
that it is good
Malika
for the
Andrews.
algorithm.
We are not Kendrick Perkins. We're not Zach Lowe, which, by the way, for the first time today, I was watching ESPN on mute. And watching Zach throw his arms up all around, I'm like, damn, TV really changed Zach, man.
Yeah, he changed up his TV Zach Lowe now. But yeah, I don't know. Lakers. But yeah, I think wherever he ends up, it will be interesting to see kind of like what role he's willing to accept. Like even him going to the bench this year, I remember him talking about it and just like reflecting on it with Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr, how many of these one-on-one meetings does Steve Kerr have to have this year? First, Draymond went to his backyard and cried after punching Yusuf Nurkic and promised not to do it again, and then just became the same Draymond when he came back. He had to manage
Rudy
Klay.
Gobert right after that.
And then remember Steph like legit like started crying, was in tears when like Draymond got tossed late in the season in like a Magic game because he was just so frustrated that it happened. Like he started like crying on the court. Like he was just so frustrated. Anyways, but yeah,
Steve Kerr just a crisis counselor at this point. Like that's not about championships anymore.
I just want to see, because it's like we've seen so many of these players. Like Klay's not the first one of having to transition to this stage in your career, and so much of it, like you mentioned, is letting your pride go and seeing if you can accept a second role. Like the best example I can ever give is Ray Allen, right? Like Ray Allen was in his prime, and then he was able to take a lesser role a little bit in Boston, and then an even lesser role in Miami.
Right. But that's a good example, because didn't he feel disrespected that the Celtics didn't necessarily bring him back? Also, there's maybe a beef with Rondo at the time.
Sure, yeah.
And then ultimately he's like, screw you, I'm going to the rivals.
Yeah, because if you're telling me Klay's like this guy that's coming off the bench, like just a catch and shoot guy, like I would love that. Like playing maybe like 20 minutes a game, something like that. But if you're telling me Klay's signing with the intention of wanting to start and like wanting a huge role, then I think that's gonna be a problem.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the question everyone should be asking isn't necessarily where Klay's going, but how washed is Klay right now? Like, what is the ideal role that Klay should be playing for a team that hopes to be in contention?
Because he's no longer a plus on defense either.
No, I would say he's like average. Sure. Maybe on some nights he could be good. Some nights he's bad.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're saying if you can get a Klay Thompson off the bench in the right role for 20 minutes, like I think that's a really good player for a contending team.
He doesn't necessarily have to come off the bench. Like there's certain benches that aren't good. Like I don't know if you went to Dallas, for example, you starting him or Derrick Jones Jr.
I don't know. Maybe start my boy DJJ, and then you've got Klay, and then you've got Klay coming off the bench, like for the second unit, so he can get some looks. He doesn't have to fight, Kyrie and Luka and these other guys for looks. Like maybe he can have some minutes where you can feature him. Like I'm just saying, like those are the roles that you got to accept when you get to this age, right?
Would you rather have KCP right now if you're winning a championship or Klay Thompson?
KCP.
Damn.
Like without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like damn though. But you know what I mean? Like
first guy of this decade or whatever to win 2 titles.
But do you
according to you?
Yeah, that's right. 2-time champ of the 2020s.
This guy calling him deuces, man. 2-time.
No, but seriously, does Klay think he's KCP? Because I know Klay does not think he's KCP. Klay thinks he's Klay Thompson.
I know, but that's the thing. It's like, has this experience, has like the last season, the way the season ended in the play-in, like changed his perspective? If you were to ask me, I would probably say no. I feel like Klay believes in himself a lot, and the fact that he's not accepting this what he views as a disrespectful contract offer from the Warriors. Clearly, he wants to go somewhere and prove that he can still be a starting caliber player and play at that high level.
Here's the timeline that everyone, well, not everyone, but that's the glitziest one possible in terms of for headlines. Klay goes to the Lakers. It's a big story. It's a homecoming for him. Obviously he grew up in Southern California with his dad playing for the Lakers. And then when Steph in a year realizes, there's nobody around here that like is worth staying for. Like, I'm sorry, but my second option is the bucket Kuminga right now. Like, it's not something I want to stick around for. He's just going to then be looking around, and LeBron, Klay's going to be making that recruitment pitch to get him to join them. God. Yeah, that's gonna. And I have no idea how it's gonna work. Like, they pretty much have to trade like AD to make it work or something, or something really stupid. But trust me, like I think that's probably in terms of what could the NBA do to draw the most attention possible would be for the Splash Brothers to eventually end up in Los Angeles.
Oh God! All right, I think that's a good time to take a break. Let's take this break. Hopefully something happens within the next 5 seconds.
Nothing's happening.
And then when we come back, just some quick hitters about the Raptors and other things. All right, we're back, Will. I'm just reading this stat from our friend Kirthika from TSN. She's always tracking these fun stats. So last year, an hour and 10 minutes into the free agency period, there was 26 reported deals and over $1 billion handed out in guaranteed salary. This year, no players have switched teams. Did switch teams in the first hour because I guess KCP happened in the second hour, and there was only $11 million in guaranteed money that was handed. So
once again, Grant Williams, you will pay. You will
not pay, actually, is the problem.
You will pay, you Charlotte Hornet. No time is a Charlotte Hornet ever actually impacted the league to this degree, man.
Actually, the funniest thing today, and shouts to our guy, Mark Deeks, who kept making this joke, was that Gordon Hayward was eligible to be offered a $208 million extension from the Thunder based on his last contract. So I'm gonna guess he's gonna come in at a little bit lower.
You know who signed him to that last contract that was worth that much?
Oh, was it Danny H?
It was Danny H. Yeah, but I mean, he had injuries, all that kind of stuff. It's this sucks, man. I don't know. Like, I actually feel like robbed of an experience. Like, it was really like everyone sort of gathered around. First off, it used to be July 1st, right? It wasn't like, what is today? The 30th?
Yeah, it's the 30th.
Yeah, like it was at midnight. It was for real sickos. And then like 12:01, you'd hear like, yo, Timothy Mozgov signed a 4-year, $72 million deal. And you're like, oh my God. And then like 2 minutes later, it'd be like, Al-Farouq Aminu just signed for 4 years, 62. You know what I mean? Like, yo, what happened to the game, man? Like, we're sitting around on a Sunday evening. We could be watching anything. We can be going outside, having a walk. I suppose we could be doing that regardless. But just, like enjoying a regular long weekend. And instead, we're sitting around looking at like, okay, what's KCP's legacy? Is he better than Klay? Like, nobody wants to hear this, man. We've ruined one of the legacies of what it means to be an NBA fan. Like, especially the modern sicko NBA fan. Like, I know everybody right now is super disappointed at the fact that there's just nothing going on. Like, whatever happened to tampering? Like, what happened? Are there new rules with tampering? Yeah, like, is the second apron affecting tampering? Like, what's happening, man?
Things got tightened up. I think Adam Adam Silver sent the memo around. Not messing
Bring
around.
back tampering. That tampering was
all
great for the league.
All we've got now is Shams reporting that the Thunder have sent a contingent to Eugene, Oregon to recruit Isaiah Hartenstein.
Why do I need to know what city that Isaiah Hartenstein's in?
That's what we're sitting on right now.
We got Shams doxing Isaiah Hartenstein and the Thunder front office an hour and a half into free agency. I can't believe this right now, man.
Yeah, this might be
so sad.
This might be the worst free agency.
Yeah.
All right, let's run through some quick hitters and then let's get out of here. So then I am actually going to go for a walk while it's still bright outside.
Dog, me too, man.
The Raptors, as expected, picked up Bruce Brown's $23 million option. Listen, we've talked about this over and over again.
Brother.
I'm starting my new thing, because I guess we got to keep bringing new things to this.
Please find one new way to talk about Bruce Brown, man. Please.
I don't think he's going to get traded till the deadline, brother.
No.
Because if you look at, we just spent 30 minutes talking about the new financial realities.
God.
You look at the contracts that are being handed out right now, like even the new KCP deal. How much did he just sign for? Like 22 a year?
Yeah.
Like 366, right?
Yeah.
Like, I get if a team like Dallas or I don't know, someone else kind of strikes out. It doesn't look like Philly's going to strike out. Like a team that's looking to contend. You need a team that's looking for contend. And you need a team that's, looking to take on Bruce Brown and the $23 million for this year. I don't know if there's going to be a team at the end of free agency that's going to be looking at this as like an enticing option.
Hold on. First off, don't even speak this into existence.
I'm starting to think he's not getting moved until the deadline. God. I just think that I don't know if
we don't have minutes for Bruce Brown, man.
I don't know if it's going too far to say the Raptors misread this, but like this is not a valuable asset to me.
No. Okay, first off, I don't know if it was ever promised to be like this hugely valuable asset, right? Okay. Like it was more of a financial instrument, if anything else.
But this was supposed to be the second part of the Pascal deal that would net more assets.
Bro, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, what? It's Bruce Brown making $22 million. Like, as much as Masai could fleece, and I suppose he fleeced for McDaniels, so it renewed hope. But, like, no, I don't think we should be holding our breath on this. But I do think that, like, part of this is probably on the Paul George situation, because I do feel like there's probably, like, between Paul George and Klay and them trying to take their meetings and decide things, like, but they're probably holding up the market to some degree.
Give me a team that would want to take. Give me a winning team that's trying to take Bruce Brown for $23 million. I think this is more of a trade deadline.
What? Oh my God. Well, here's the thing with if you hold Bruce Brown to the trade deadline, which I know people are like saying, "Oh, brother, how did we go from last week where we had fire pod content to whether or not Bruce Brown's going to be held hostage until the trade deadline of 2025. Jerome's like, I got to go to dinner. I'm waiting on this. Is crazy. But the thing with that is you still need to play him enough minutes to maintain his value, right? Like at a certain point, it's like, but then if the Raptors are healthier than they were, and then the second half of last season, which like, please knock on wood, literally doing that right now, that they are, we're not going to have as many minutes. Or rather, if he does play, you're eating into developmental time for guys like Grady, who would love to see play more minutes, for Jacoby, who maybe as a rookie probably won't see immediate minutes, but at least some. You know what I mean? Like, trust me, man, I'd much rather see those guys.
I'm not saying I want to see Bruce Brown around. I'm just saying this is my new prediction.
Oh, God.
My new prediction that Bruce Brown does not get
moved. Paul George, man, sort out your stuff, man. Just go back to the Clippers. Be like, yo, what's your hey, man, what's your welcome to the NBA moment? Tell me your favorite Kobe story. Prize picks, like just do that for 3 hours and then just sort it out, man. Like you can't hold up the whole league over Paul George. It's kind of nasty to me. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. What happened to like KD being like, holding up the league because he's got to sign? You know what I mean? Like that's
because he was in the Hamptons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Going to the Hamptons. I don't even know where Paul George is in right now. He's probably in the podcast studio right now, man, asking people about their favorite Kobe stories.
Well, since you don't like the Bruce Brown news, how about a Sasha Vezenkov update?
Okay.
Over the weekend, there was reports coming out that he was going to return to Greece because we did list out his credentials.
Right.
And
we've established that he's the Greek. Yeah.
On a 4-year deal with Olympiacos. Vezenkov is making $6.7 million next season, and there's a team option for $7 million the following year. And I guess you technically have to negotiate a buyout to be able to move back to Europe. So Michael Grange later reported that the Raptors have no intention of waiving Vezenkov and expect him to be at training camp. That's your non-Sasha Vezenkov news.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were some whispers, I think, throughout the year that, obviously he wasn't really like getting playing time with the Kings and, clearly had a really good run. He was at the peak of his career over in Europe, so potentially might want to go back. Of course, yeah, you would have to negotiate a buyout. I think, honestly, like, I'd actually rather just like see him stay on the Raptors, quite frankly, for me. Like, if, at worst, it's an expiring salary worth like $7 million you can throw into a trade. Not to say that I want to create another Bruce Brown, but like Vezenkov can shoot a little bit.
Bruce Brown, we can get up to 30 mil.
Oh, wow, man. What can we get with that, man? Some more potential.
Hero.
Oh, you know what? I'd be thrilled if we got that Tyler Hero for that. Although I have no idea where the minutes are going to play. But like, yeah, I don't know. I'd rather keep him on the roster though. Like, I actually want to see like what he can do. I think him and Darko. I think Darko's system. I don't know if that will help necessarily with Vezenkov's production because I think that Sacramento. It's not like they didn't move the ball, but like, yeah, ultimately, I'd rather keep him. I think it's more of an asset to actually have the player rather than to let him get bought out.
Yeah,
but
you sound like a guy who wasn't expecting to come on after the first hour of free agency to talk Bruce Brown and Sasha Vezenkov.
Oh man, how do you think this is gonna affect Olympiacos, man?
You're so down.
Come on, man. Panathinaikos, they just got Slukas back. Come on, man.
Oh man, and Club Shay Shay's putting out a podcast interview with Meg the Stallion tomorrow.
Oh man, I just said we're gonna cost 5K, man. We might fall under 4K at this point, man.
Finally,
people unsubscribing hearing to this.
Finally, Zach Edey announced earlier today that he's not going to be joining Team Canada for training camp, and he's bowing out of the process because he had a long season with Purdue, got drafted by Memphis, and is going to focus on that instead. Thoughts on that in terms of impact for Team Canada?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, it wasn't a guarantee that he was going to be on the roster. And this is no disrespect to Zach Edey. We're big fans of Zach here, of course, man. How could we not cheer for a Chinese Canadian from Toronto in the NBA? Of course, we're cheering for Zach. But like, when you're looking at how he was used last year, for example, like a guy like Kyle Alexander was used way more than Zach Edey was in last year's World Cup run. And part of the reason was, the main reason was Jordi Fernandez trusted his defense from Kyle Alexander much more than he did with Zach Edey. There was a game where I know they were playing Serbia, right? The one that they ultimately lost in. And he put in Zach Edey for about 10 seconds. And immediately the Serbian head coach subbed in a stretch 5. And Zach Edey like let in an open 3 and all that kind of stuff. It was like stuff like that where it's just like, especially for a young player, but also a young player who wasn't that mobile. I wasn't really sure how much he was going to play for Team Canada anyway. Now, of course, his profile has raised because he's improved this game and Purdue. And obviously he was good enough to even get drafted 9th. And I think going forward in the future, he will be a big part of Canada's program. Even if he doesn't necessarily change his game or change his flaws. But like, I don't think Jordy had him playing that many minutes to begin with. So you could definitely see a situation like this coming up because like, yeah, I mean, it's a really valuable sort of period right now in terms of like going through summer league, going through training camp, going through all the workouts in the off season, trying to build momentum. Like, especially for a rookie, like you probably would see them try to commit themselves more towards the NBA side versus like towards a national team. I'm sure it's tough for Zach because he's shown up for Team Canada over and over again and he wants to contribute. But you also understand that like Nemhard last year, for example, he didn't go to the World Cup. Right, like he was coming off his rookie season, just gone through the draft process. Before that, he obviously played a really big part in winning at Gonzaga. So it's like, by the time the summer came around, it was like, we actually need that time off instead. So I think if anything else, like Canada does, they have other guys. Kem Birch. I've been at Canada basketball practice earlier this week, and Kem Birch was swishing some threes. Remember Kem?
Yeah, I love
representing We the North.
Okay.
Kem Birch, Kyle Alexander, one of those guys. Yeah.
All right.
Trey Lyles, playing shooting competitions with Shea and Jamal and RJ.
Yeah. No, that sounds awesome. Lastly, before we wrap
there's
up,
more?
So
goodness, there's more.
Last week on ESPN's First Take, Stephen A came up with a list of 5 names that Bronny should call LeBron on the court, because obviously of the father and son connection. And the 5 names that he suggested were Pops, Old Man, Bron, 2-3, which is my favorite, and Captain. And, I thought I would bring this up before we wrap up because, we actually have an expert here in you who plays sports with your dad, Ronald.
Right. Yeah.
So you guys play soccer sometimes. So I want to know what's the top 5 names you call your dad when you guys play soccer.
I call him my dad because he's my dad.
No, but if he's got the ball and you're looking for it, are you like, Dad?
Yes.
I'm open on the left back. Yeah, I'm.
Okay.
We're playing the 4-3-2-1. I'm running up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. No, I'm calling him dad because that's all I ever call my dad.
So no Pops, no Ron, no Ronald.
No, and honestly, I think it's totally fine if he calls him dad on the court. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Okay,
so it's not like they're trying to hide this secret, familiar relationship that they got.
But also speaking in a different language.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He yo, Papi.
No, come on.
Yo, call him Papi when he's sick.
It's only for Taco Tuesdays, man. Oh my god. So you only call your dad, if you need to call him out on the.
Yeah, absolutely. But my question to you is it just me or it's is ESPN's coverage getting more and more chaotic as time goes on?
I think this is just how it's been. You mean for this specific topic?
This is absurd, man.
Of course, man.
This is so absurd. I feel like even 5 years ago, this would be a huge headline and they'd be shamed for it. What happened to shame? That's what I'm trying to say at ESPN. What happened to shame?
Yeah, what number?
3 hours of day 2 draft coverage about Bronny. And then right afterwards, we come up with Pop's old man. First off, they got old man and the 3.
What number? They got old man and the 2-3, man.
This is crazy.
What number does your dad wear? 11?
My dad wears 4.
Your dad wears 4. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you would
be B grade 4.
Yeah, you wouldn't call him 4? Quattro or something? Yeah. No.
I'm gonna call him Poppy next time we are on the pitch.
Please don't do that. All right, that's it. That's your free agency day 1 nothing burger.
Oh, that's a brick.
Hope y'all enjoyed that.
Damn, dog. What you do on the weekend, man? Did you? What did we not cover off, man?
No, man. Jerome's got to go to dinner, man.
JB Bickerstaff with the Pistons. They got Dwayne Casey 2.0.
So we will be back. We'll be back this week with hopefully actual free agency.
Oh man,
news.
I can't wait.
So, but looks like Bruce Brown is not going to get traded till the deadline.
No. By the time we record next, hopefully Paul George is signed. Hopefully Bruce Brown, his decision in terms of where he's traded to is resolved. Hopefully Gary, in terms of whether he's staying or coming back, looks like right now probably leaning towards leaving based on just how the Raptors are salary-wise. Hopefully that's resolved. There's also reports about trading for Cam Johnson. I know Raptor Twitter debating should we get Wiggins or Cam Johnson? I'm how about neither, man?
Yeah, we were saving that for Wednesday, man.
Oh, we're rationing? You know what? You're right, actually, because Paul George may not have made a decision by then. So yeah, it's a tough one, man. But I appreciate all the 3 of us slogging through this. Again, congrats to everyone for getting through day 1 of free agency, which apparently has featured absolutely nothing. And hopefully we'll be back when there is more news. So thanks everyone for listening. You've been listening to the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway.